Today we're going to work on a cute bunny dizzy dot design that's perfect for spring and Easter, but we're going to take a little bit of a different approach and talk more about mistakes and imperfections and permission and comfort with those things. So grab your coffee and let's chat. I had a vision for this design in my head, and I started out struggling to put it on this rock. So my first couple of attempts at drawing this bunny for the outline got wiped off and erased, and I finally landed on this and created the border and then put the background colors in. But the bunny is not quite shaped the way I wanted it to be. It's not quite in the right position that I wanted it to be, but I had kind of gotten tired of trying to redo it, and I was like, I'm just gonna go with it. So going with it, and I'm adding a nice teal background. This is my favorite color if you guys don't know already, and I just dug in on the design. And the idea is filling in that background like we've done with some of the other dizzy dot designs, and it's going to outline the bunny, and the bunny will kind of take shape. And the bunny's imperfections also became more apparent, and I was working on correcting to try and make it symmetrical, where the ears were the same size and the feet were in the same level, and it's okay. It ended up being fine in the long run. The bunny was popping out and standing out and looked fine, and this color is beautiful, so I let it go and I moved on. It's okay. You could trace one if you wanted to make it more symmetrical, more perfect, or finding the perfect bunny shape that you want to put on a rock. You could trace it. I do that a lot. For whatever reason, I didn't do it this time, and it's fine. So let's just go ahead and appreciate this beautiful turquoise color and the couple of coats it took to get a nice opaque background, and we'll move on. So when I'm doing my dizzy dot designs, I use all of my dotting tools because I have some that are very large. I have the numbered dotting tools, and then I have the nail dotting tools. So I use them all. And first step was to take a dry paper towel and wipe off any remnants of the chalk pencil from the bunny outline. And then we're going to come in with white paint, starting with large dotting tools and then graduating down to smaller and smaller and smaller dots as we fill in the background with the white dots. Usually this layer is the easiest set of dots because there's no other paint under it but the base coat, and they just go down nice and evenly. But even on my large dots, I noticed that there was some kind of discrepancies in the circles. They weren't perfectly round like they usually are, and I think my dotting tool wasn't completely clean, so I can see those things looking at it, but I bet you're going to tell me in the comments that you have no idea what I'm talking about. So remember, the imperfections that happen, we are so much harder on ourselves when we see them. And the point of Kindness Rocks is to brighten the day of a stranger, not for them to critique every little piece of our art, which I guarantee you they're not doing. So now moving on, we're going to add this nice lilac and light yellow color in, and I decided to make a design that's going to make myself think hard, like the Halloween one, the very first one that we did. So I'm kind of evenly distributing the green, yellow, and lilac dots throughout the white dots. So it worked very easily with the large dots because there was an even number of them, and then I just kind of eyeballed it for the rest of the dots. And I knew I was going to be in for a thinking battle when I get around past the next set of white dots, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But for now, I'm focusing on filling in almost all of those first layer of white dots. So again, it's graduating down. You kind of have to size up the dots as you go along so that there is some white. You want that white border to show, and then your colored dot will be a little bit smaller. So this is really a lot of eyeballing. And then I came back and started doing white dots, and you can see that I used too big of a dotting tool, and I barely had any colored border around. So I just powered through, and I figured I'm going to come back and I will do some adjustments once I get through all the white dots. So for those dots that were too much white and didn't leave enough colored border, I took a disposable eyeliner brush and whatever color paint was under there, and I just kind of beefed up the border a little bit. So you can see I'm kind of thickening up that purple and trying to make sure it's nice and round, which is the harder part actually, is trying to make that look like a dot and keep it nice and even and round. But this was my solution to kind of thicken up, make sure that color was still popping through. And then I had to gear up my mind to set up the paints in the order that I was going to go with the dots. So I had a specific order of green, yellow, purple. And so that was the pattern that I followed. If the bottom dot was green, it went green, white, yellow, white, purple. And so I had to think constantly about what is the order going to be. And I lined up the paint bottles in front of me in that order so that I could look and see what is the previous colored dot under the white, and then figure out the pattern from there. So who knew that rock painting was actually exercising your brain as a muscle, because this really does make you stop and think. But I like doing this because it gives a unique look to it. You could start and do it the same colors all the way across. We could have done all green colored dots, then white, then yellow, then purple on every single dot, and it still would have looked cool. But I found that when I did the Halloween Dizzy dot, this one really made it pop when there was different variations of the colors. So as much as it exercised my brain, maybe hurt my brain a little bit, I thought it was worth it to get the extra pops of color. I've never done a Dizzy dot with like these pastel colors, and I really, really, really like how they came together. My other goal was for the top dots, like the final dot that was going to go on each little dot cluster, was supposed to be a colored dot. I didn't want white to be the last color showing. So that's kind of how I determined where I would stop. Like if they were smaller dots, I stopped sooner. The bigger dots obviously got more layers because there was room for it. But I wanted to stop with a colored dot on top of all of them to kind of draw the design to a close, kind of close the circle. I think adding this glitter paint may have been a little bit of a compensation for struggling a bit with the way the design was fighting with me a little bit, and I wanted to add some sparkly pop. But I actually am glad I did it. It came out really cute. So I added this little thin border of the Extreme Hologram glitter paint around the bunny rabbit just to give it a little extra pop and definition. And once the resin goes on, you're going to see how cute that looks. And then I added some random dots of the hologram glitter paint throughout the design, just so that the sun or whatever light would catch the sparkle in kind of random areas along the design. And then of course, the bunny has to have a tail. Why not make it out of glitter? So dotting tool, glitter, bunny tail were awesome. And now you get to see this rock with the resin on and in the sunshine sparkling. And then I'm going to zoom in and show you what got resined into this rock. Some random orange paint on these dots. No idea where that came from. I was a little annoyed, and then you know what? I was like, I'm leaving it. This is going to go in a park, a little kid's going to find it, and they're going to be so excited, and they're not even going to notice those stinking dots. So moral of the story, don't be too hard on yourself. Remember why we do this. We do this to brighten someone's day, not to be perfect. And I'll tell you from experience, there is something very freeing about not being paralyzed by that perfectionism. So keep spreading that kindness, keep a smile on your face, and I challenge you to leave a mistake in your next rock. Take care. I'll see you next time.